Extreme 3D Ducks Acrylic Nail Art Tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish.
Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you a design that I absolutely love. It was always kind of a tradition in the summer when I was a kid to go feed ducks at a park that was nearby, and it's something that her and I are planning on doing this summer as well. Ducks, yeah, ducks. Are you excited to go see ducks? Yeah! So this design is a mama and a baby duck that are extreme 3D. They sit up off the nail. It is so cool. I just love it. It warms my heart whenever I look at it. Yeah, it's got a mama and a baby. Isn't that sweet? Yeah. Yeah. So I hope you guys like it as much as we do, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well.
I'm going to begin with creating a layer of kind of a foggy sheer blue. I didn't want it to be an opaque color that made it look, I don't know, less aquatic and make it look so solid. I wanted it to have a little bit of clarity to it, so I mixed some blue with some clear acrylic, and it does have a bit of a white in it too. That just makes it not completely see-through like it's a glass nail, but just kind of promotes that water-like appearance. After that, I'm going to encase the nail with a layer of clear acrylic. The whole background of the nail could have been built up with that clear blue color that I made. However, I didn't want it to be that thick with that color because that would be a little too pigmented for me. So if you do get it to the color that you want first with that, and then you fill in the rest of the thickness with clear, then you get the right color and the right shape. So then go through with your e-file and file the nail into shape. Start with a coarse bit to remove any bulk, and then switch over to a finer bit just to refine the surface texture and make it very velvety smooth. On a nail form backing, I'm going to begin sculpting the shape of my baby duck with yellow acrylic. So when you're doing this, you have to sculpt the duck in two pieces. You have to sculpt his back, and then a little bit of the tail sticking up, and the head on one piece, and then for the second piece, it's just a very skinny little curve that goes underneath that's about the same width as the bottom of your duck that you sculpted before, and that is a little piece of belly that goes underneath the nail. The baby duck, you can see his little feet and his little belly that are underneath the waterline, so you need to sculpt that little base of the belly. With tan acrylic, I'm going to be basically doing the exact same thing again in a much larger size for the mama, and instead of doing the little belly part, you don't have to do that. You can just flatten out the bottom of her, because that one, the mama duck, goes up towards the finger, so you don't have to worry about sculpting her feet because you can't see them anyway. And even if you wanted to add them, if you place them in the same way that I did, you just can't because the finger's in the way. Of course, if you wanted to do them down the nail farther so you can see both her feet and the baby's feet, you can go ahead and add her belly as well. The other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to sculpt a couple little wing feathers with the same color of tan acrylic so that those can be extra 3D and sticking up off of it. And then with orange, we're going to be sculpting the bills for both ducks. So there's the first one. Don't actually sculpt them next to them or on the main part of each duck. Just do them to the side. That way you can add them later and you can turn them so that they're the right direction on their face. So just make kind of little soft triangle shapes, not so sharp as you'd think of a triangle typically, but basically a triangle shape. Then, still using the orange color, I'm going to be making the little legs and the little feet for the baby duck. So the legs aren't in the same position. One of them is bent and one of them is straight, as if he's in the motion of swimming. So there's the one that is bent, and then here is the one that's just going to be a little straight line, and sculpt the little foot. So the foot of the leg that is bent, the toes are pulled in, so you don't have to create that classic flat triangle-shaped duck foot shape, because as that leg is being pulled forward, the toes curl in to be more hydrodynamic, and then the other foot comes down flat. So that is how that goes. So I'm going to be gluing the body pieces to my nail. So just do the bodies. Don't worry about adding the shape or the feet or the bills at this stage. Just get those bodies in place. And then using the same color that you used for their bodies previously, I'm going to be really bulking them up and filling them out. There is so much acrylic packed into these two little duckies that if you wanted to, you might have been better off sculpting them first with maybe a little bit of aluminum foil just to kind of build up, especially in their bodies, if you're concerned about using so much product. Or obviously you could just sculpt them smaller too. That would reduce the amount of acrylic that was needed. But if you are doing it like I am, just be prepared that it does take quite a bit of acrylic to fill them out this much. I know when I did a nail competition and I sculpted these 3 penguins that are a very similar technique, and they just were filled out so completely. and they stood up off the nail, and they were just these little egg shapes that were solid acrylic. And one of the judges asked me, she's like, how did you do that? And I said, well, I did that with pure acrylics. I'm like, these guys are solid. And I was like, and it used up all the black acrylic I had. And so that would have been a circumstance, and I don't know if it was allowed, if I would have been allowed to use foil that particular time or not, but foil is just a good thing to use if you're concerned about using so much acrylic. So with all that in mind, you may have wanted to if that was a concern of yours. So fill out both sides of the duck. So flip it over from side to side just so that you can get it so it's fairly symmetrical from side to side, and look at the nail from every angle. With a design that's this dimensional and sticks up off the nail so much, you really have to monitor how the shape is coming along from every single direction. So look at it from each side so you get both of their profiles and make sure it looks good there. That I would say is step one. And if there's an issue at that particular stage, go ahead and try to fix it if there's a weird dip that you can see or something. And then after that, I would look at it from the top and look straight down, because if one of the sides is significantly thinner than the other, you have to go through and fix that. So that's step two. And then step three for filling out your ducks is that you really want to look at it from both the front and the back, because you never know where you're going to see some kind of a weird mark. And it would be so disappointing to get all the way done with this design, get all the painting done, and then look at it and be like, wow, the side of her head is really flat. I know that that's something that would just bug me continuously. So keep that all in mind while you're sculpting these guys, that you really want to look at them from all sides. And that's actually a good rule of thumb for even if you're just sculpting an extreme enhancement, is to look at them from all angles. And look at the nail. That's something that I know some people do for clients. I personally don't. I have done it a couple times and I just decided I didn't get any information that I thought I needed out of it. But if you look at them from what they call the client view, so if you turn the client's hand around towards you, it's a little bit awkward, but it works out. You kind of get it. But you look at it so the fingers are closer to your face and you look at it down the barrel of the nail. That's a really great angle to spot imperfections here and there. So after you have your ducks all sculpted out and fixed and looking lovely and completely dimensional and amazing, you're going to want to attach the other pieces of them that you sculpted off of the nail. So on the mama duck, I did add her little wing feathers sticking up, but then you're also going to want to add their bills. And for the baby, you're going to need to add his belly and his legs. So after you glue on, do one piece at a time. So glue on, as you can see, I started out with the mama's bill. So glue on her bill and then bulk that out as well with the orange acrylic. The reason you don't want to just go through and glue all of the pieces on and then go back through and fix them and fill them out is because the glue is just so delicate, and it seems like inevitably if you do it that way, by the time you go back to start, you've broken a piece off and you have to re-glue it anyhow. And the more you glue things, the less the glue seems to stick, and it seems like it just makes kind of a big mess, and then you can see the glue and nobody wants to see the glue. So do one little bit at a time. Add some more feathers on her wings if you would like to fill them out a little bit more, add more details. So the great thing with doing a design like this is you can do it as realistic or as cartoonish as you want, and it's still so cute and so springy. So you could have done it a lot more simplistically than I did if you wanted to. You could have just gone super cartoonish, or I kind of say mine is sort of a happy medium between cartoon and realism. It especially comes with the paint job, but at this point, if you wanted to, they could be almost done. Just give them some eyes and maybe nostrils would be a good touch on them, and then you could call it good if you didn't want to go through and do all of the detailing. So now that you have the mama to this stage, you're going to want to go through and repeat the steps for the baby duck, filling out all of the extra yellow that is needed, filling out the head and the body. The one thing about the baby duck is there isn't quite as much detail that's required, so it does go a lot faster. Plus the fact that it's so much smaller reduces the amount of time it took to sculpt him out as well. So just keep going through and adding details as needed. Glue on the lower part of the baby's body. A tweezers is so beneficial when doing things like this, because picking up those little pieces and getting them placed with your fingers is very cumbersome and just not streamlined. So if you have a tweezers, I would definitely recommend going through and using those instead. Even better than a tweezers is, I don't know what brand it is, but I have a angled embellishment grabber. So it's basically a tweezers, but instead of having more sharp little angled sides on it, it bends, so it's got kind of an L shape on the end of it instead of just being straight, and it has little grooves on the flat part of it. I'll show it to you guys some point. But that picks up embellishments even better because it's got a really good shape for it as far as the little grooves on it. That texture grabs these little pieces perfectly, and then that angled shape of the whole end of it makes it so that you can really place things and see them. Like I know for a while a lot of people were using eyeliner brushes that had an angle on them because you can see better, and I guess I don't know if people still are, but it's kind of the same concept. That little angle on the end of the grabber makes it a lot easier to see what you're doing. So now with acrylic paint, I'm going to go through and add all of the details to the ducks. With a brighter shade of yellow, I went through and added just a whole bunch of little fluffy looking lines to the baby duck to make him look so soft and cuddly. And then with black, add some details, add some outlines, add his eye. And this is the part where if you are going for realism, you probably don't want to go straight into black. You might want to make these other details a bit more subtle, not do so many outlines. Maybe paint in some more highlights. With white, I did add highlights to his wing. I did not sculpt in the wing, so that's all just done with paint. And then go back to your mama duck and add all the details to her. Same basic process. The fun thing with the mama duck is that she gets to have a lot more detail on her wings. So if you look at mallard ducks, which is where I decided to go with this for the most part because that is what I always feed in the summer, is the mamas seem like they don't have much color to them. They don't seem like, they're just kind of brown. But if you look at their wings, there's so much really pretty patterning on them. They have little flecks of blue. Sometimes they have a really iridescent kind of a sheen to them that is just so pretty. And so you can't underestimate the female ducks. So just go through and add as much detail to her as you would like. Add those little spots on the wings especially. That is something that I would definitely recommend doing. Even if you want to go on the cartoony side, even add just a little bit to her wings to make them look a bit more fancy. And then with little feather lines, I'm going to be adding little spots on her chest area, a highlight in her eye, just like so. A couple little more lines on her head. Same thing, this is a situation where once you're happy with the way the design looks, I recommend stopping. I have a horrible habit of over detailing things where thinking, oh, I just have to add more, and keep adding things until I'm like, wow, this just has so much going on. I need to settle it down and cut back on what I was doing. So if you look at it, just take stock of how it looks every once in a while, and if you're happy with it, call it good. Apply gel sealer over the water and cure, and apply matte top coat over your two ducks, and they are done. I think these two are so cute. This is a design that has been on my radar to do for quite a while, and I was just waiting for the spring so I could finally be able to do it and share it with everybody. So I hope you guys like it as much as I do, and don't forget to tag me in recreations on Facebook or Instagram. I would love to see them, and I'll see you next time. Bye!